Welcome back to Real Estate 101. Today we're going to continue our discussion on home inspections and talk a little bit about septic systems. And I'm pleased to be joined once again by Allan Spisak of ESSE Home Inspections. Allan, welcome back to the show.
Good day, Joe. It's great to be back. And today I've brought a special guest, Jason Barry, who is the Manager of Property Services at ESSE Canada.
Jason, thanks for coming on today's show.
Hi, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Allan. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Jason. So to start us off, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your company and what you guys do?
Sure. Well, our company started about 10 years ago, and what we specialize in is inspection of septic system or for rural real estate, as well as well and well water systems. We also have a maintenance division and component to our company, which performs routine maintenance for wastewater treatment systems around the province.
Cool. So you guys work with people all over Ontario.
That's right, yeah.
Cottages, homes, everything.
You got it, from North Bay to Windsor, all the way out to Ottawa. So a big area that we cover, yes.
All right. So for viewers and listeners of our show that may not know what a septic system is, you want to touch on that? What is it exactly?
Sure. Well, an on-site wastewater treatment system or on-site septic system is comprised of two main parts, a septic tank and a leaching field. The function of the septic tank is pretty simple. It's to provide capacity and enough retention time for solids to settle out and separate from liquids. The solids remain in the tank and are broken down by anaerobic bacteria, where the liquid portion, which we call effluent, leaves the tank and enters the leaching field. The leaching field usually consists of a manifold of underground pipes, which are perforated, and they're surrounded by a stone and or sand layer that allows the effluent to drain from the pipes into the underlying soil, where oxygen and anaerobic bacteria in the soil further break down that liquid waste. Eventually, the waste is treated to a point as it moves down through the soil profile that it is ready to be recycled into the groundwater table to be used again for drinking or other purposes.
Cool. So that's the technical terms. The layman's terms is it's a tank in the ground.
Basically, yeah. Most septic tanks are either a concrete or a large plastic tank that are below grade in the ground.
Okay, so who uses or who has a septic system?
So most sites that use septic systems are outside of the city or rural, where you don't have municipal service connections or the big pipe as it's known sometimes. So
right.
That applies to a lot of farms, cottages, or just lots that are outside of the municipal boundaries.
All right, Jason. So for those people who have a septic system, do you recommend them having it, or for somebody who's buying a home that may have a septic system, I guess I should ask, do you recommend them having inspected?
Absolutely. Like any building system, whether it be your roofing system, your HVAC system, or your electrical system, the septic system does have a finite life expectancy and does require some ongoing maintenance and eventually replacement when it's no longer working in its intended manner.
So that's why when we get calls from clients who are buying a rural property, we really strongly advise that they get a septic inspection, because that's something that the average person has no idea. They can't see underground, but we have specialists here that do that.
Cool. So you mentioned that it's not a septic system doesn't last forever. How much time are we talking here?
Ballpark life expectancy of most standard septic systems is between 35 and 45 years. That's not to say that it couldn't last much longer than that or fail well before that, but just for general terms, that's kind of the time frame that I would tell most people.
Okay. Now, is there any maintenance? Like once you have a septic system, do you have to do like yearly maintenance on it, or is just?
It depends on the certain type of system, but for a standard system, which is typically, again, a concrete tank or plastic tank and a leaching bed, where gravity takes the liquid from the tank, moving it into the bed, the maintenance generally is limited to having the septic tank pumped out at some type of interval to remove the solids or undigested solids in the tank. That can be between every 3 and 5 years for most households.
So, Joe, I want to remind our listeners at home, though, if they're buying a rural property, a septic pump out is not a septic inspection.
So a septic pump out is not an inspection.
That's correct. And I'll let Jason explain why that is.
That's right. The pump out, again, is a critical part of maintenance, but it's limited in what information it can provide if the client or the buyer is looking for a true comprehensive inspection of the system. The septic tank is only one part of the system as a whole, and there's a lot left on the table if you don't have a full inspection completed.
All right. So what is involved in a septic system inspection?
The most comprehensive assessment begins with getting a history on the property. So an inspector should talk to either the real estate agent or the current homeowner to get as much of a background on the property as possible. That's mainly in regards to the location of the system components and any upgrades or repair work that has been done prior to going out for inspection. Following that, you want to expose all of the tank lids to investigate the condition of the structural integrity of the tank, the height of the effluent level or liquid level that would be in that tank, and the presence and condition of the inlet and outlet baffles in the septic tank.
So Joe, it's important that they don't actually pump the tank before Jason comes out to do the inspection.
Really?
That's right, Alan. We prefer that you don't have the tank pumped because if I can analogize, someone would say, how do you know there's not a hole in the tank? How do you know there's not a crack in the tank if you don't pump it out? Well, if you think about if you have a bucket that's filled with water and you want to know if there's a hole in that bucket,
you'll be able to see it easily.
You'll be able to see it easily. So if that liquid level in the tank is not at the normal operating level, you're going to know that there's an issue with that tank. And furthermore, I want to see the true conditions or the normal operating conditions of that system on the day of inspection. Pumping it out beforehand may mask or hide some issues that may have been present before or are present that would go undiagnosed at the time of inspection.
Okay, so let's say you're doing an inspection and during the course of the inspection you find that one of the systems has failed.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it typically cost to replace that system?
It depends on a variety of factors, but ballpark, it's going to be between roughly $25,000 to $45,000 on most properties. Keeping in mind the septic tank component is maybe 20 to 30% of that overall cost. The majority of the costs come from the labor and the imported fill or sand that's brought in to construct the leaching field.
When ESSE comes out to do septic inspections, they use special tools like a tracer dye that they put in the wastewater system. Explain that, Jason?
Sure. So to assess the overall functionality of the system, we like to use a fluorescent tracer dye flushed from the house, which we want to see end up in the septic tank to verify all the fixtures are connected. After that, we would like to load the system, so by flushing a certain volume of water through the system into the leaching field to evaluate how it's performing. Also, we like to use sewer cameras where we inspect the pipe between the tank and the house, as well as between the tank and the leaching field, which can help us detect some vulnerability or deficiency in the pipe that would otherwise go undiagnosed.
So this is a special camera that very few companies actually use to go into the field bed, Joe. Something
kidding.
that people can't see.
Wow.
That's right. A lot of systems, well, most systems the piping is underground, so there's so much unknown, and the more information we can obtain and provide to our client, the better purchasing decision they can make.
Right. Okay, so are there other types of septic systems other than the ones you've described?
Absolutely. Over the last 10 to 20 years, there's been a lot of innovation throughout the wastewater industry. And currently, there are several very good advanced treatment systems available on the market.
There's new regulations now that if people have properties located near rivers, streams, and lakes that really contain what they can do with their septic system now.
That's right. As part of the inspection procedure, you want to be able to verify the minimum separation distances between structures like pools or decks, as well as property lines and water supplies like you had just mentioned. On some of these sites, if there's not enough room to construct a standard septic system, you're going to have to go to another option, which is one of these advanced treatment units.
Okay, so how do these advanced septic systems work?
Well, each individual system has their own way of operating, but the principles are pretty much the same. they all contain some element of aeration and or filtration, which treats the wastewater to a higher degree before it's disposed into the leaching field. The higher quality effluent, because it's closer to water, can be disposed in a much smaller area, which then makes it an attractive option on smaller lots or environmentally sensitive lots.
So these are actually mechanical systems that have electrical power and motorized equipment to them.
That's right. Many of them do have electrical air pumps or other types of mixing motors, that type of thing. And because of that, the Ontario Building Code requires that anyone who owns and operates an advanced system does have a service agreement with a manufacturer authorized maintenance provider. This typically costs the owner about $250 to $500 per year, and their job is to come out once or twice and evaluate that all the systems are working, or all the components are working in their intended manner. Also, effluent sampling may be required as per the building code, just to verify the system is performing up to its design standards.
Good. People are coming in and checking these systems to make sure they're not contaminating the grounds.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So I was just going to actually ask about that. So let's say you buy a rural property and you've got to put in a septic system.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to pull a permit?
Absolutely, yes. A permit is required in any new construction.
And or renovation, correct? Because I've seen people put swimming pools in, dig out half their septic system, and they didn't replace it or do it with a building permit.
It does happen that way. So yes, Alan's exactly right. If you're adding on to your house or renovating the backyard, whether it be a pool or other landscaping, a permit should be pulled or an inspection should be completed to note that the performance of your existing components isn't going to be reduced by the building renovation.
All right, Jason. So for people who are looking for more information on septic systems, where can they find it?
They can go to our website at www.ESSEcanada.com, or they can also visit the Ontario On-Site Wastewater Association website at www.ua.org.
All right, Jason, I want to thank you for coming on today's show. You brought a lot of interesting information on septic systems, and I hope to see you again sometime down the road.
Great. It was great to meet you, Joe. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Alan, thanks for coming on in again today.
It's always a pleasure.
So there you have it. If you're looking for more information on home inspections, get in contact with Allan Spisak at ACUS Home Inspections. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, and share our videos. I'm Joe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.